Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Oh, Toastmasters. Andra gave a speech not too long ago, and it clicked in a little bit about the nexus of how Roe versus Wade came about. It may help us with what we have today, that connection. It comes from, much of it comes from the justice who wrote Roe versus Wade, Harry Blackmun. Harry Blackmun kept all kinds of notes. If you want to know what goes on in that granite building, very, very, very imposing Supreme Court building, what goes on inside of it, you could go to Harry Blackmun's writing because he kept all sorts of records, all sorts of diaries, and it's there available. And this part of it has to do with Roe versus Wade, the decision about abortions. We'll start by going back pretty far. You have to go back to the very end of Lyndon Johnson. Lyndon Johnson, he was president for about 3 weeks in January, after 1969. So but basically he was over in 1968. The Chief Justice, who was from California, Chief Justice Warren, announced that he was retiring while Lyndon Johnson was president. And Johnson, to the end of Johnson's term, he nominates sitting Justice Abe Fortas. Now, Abe Fortas and Johnson were old buddies. Abe Fortas is probably a pretty good guy. He's pretty smart and so on. But he runs up against Strom Thurmond. And it's kind of why now we have big arguments over this report. And it kind of started there. For some reason, Strom Thurmond gets a filibuster against Abe Fortas. And he brings up a couple things. One, Abe Fortas had gotten a few honorariums or something from a company, and so Strom Thurmond said, well, that company might come to the Supreme Court sometime, and Abe wouldn't be able to be fair about it. And the other thing was Abe and the other justice had made a decision, which still holds today, that you can show pornographic movies, right? I mean, if you want to, you can go on the TV and you'll find them. Although I doubt this club, I'm not sure. Strom Thurmond shows some of these movies. So, who's worse? Strom Thurmond or the... Anyway, he gets this filibuster. And Johnson says, okay, just to kind of honor Abe, I should take his name out because we aren't going to be able to... At that time, you had to have 2/3 of the Senate to get by a filibuster, and he didn't have 2/3. But he goes on, and they try to get rid of the filibuster. Abe Fortas got a majority of the vote, but not enough to end the filibuster. Johnson goes out of office, and Nixon comes in. Nixon appoints Warren Burger. Warren Burger is from Minnesota. Now, Abe Fortas gets into more controversy. He had gotten a $20,000 a year stipend from Wolfson. Wolfson was kind of a little bit of trouble, but you don't have time to do it all. But Abe Fortas has to leave the Supreme Court. He didn't have to, but he says, it would be better if I did. So that creates a vacancy. Now, Nixon was trying to get a Southern strategy. In fact, he succeeded. At one time, the South was pretty much Democratic. He said it like Johnson was Democrat. Because Lincoln had been a Republican. And Nixon says, I can make them Republican. And he succeeded, right? I mean, the Southern people now are all Republicans. The majority of people, the politicians in the South are Republican. So he's going to, Nixon's going to try to get a Supreme Court justice that'll please the South. Well, he first appoints Carswell. Some things come out about Carswell, and Carswell says, "Take me out. Too much controversy." Nixon then appoints Haynesworth. The same thing happens. Haynesworth has got some unsavory things about him. They were both judges. So Warrenberger goes to Nixon and says, "Look, why don't you appoint Harry Blackmun? He's a really good justice. He happens to be my friend. In fact, he was best man at my wedding. He's a good judge." Nixon appoints him, and they become the Minnesota Twins. I'll have to divide my speech into 2 parts. I didn't realize it was this. Okay, let's take this long. I'll make it in 2 parts. Berger tells Blackmun, "Okay, Roe versus Wade is up. You go look at it." And he does. He does a really good job. Blackmun does a really good job. He spends a summer looking at the history about how governments and things. He spends a week at Mayo Clinic talking to people there. And he comes up with the thought that the mother's life is not less important than the child's life. And he convinces the Supreme Court to that. And it's a 7-2 division. Rehnquist, who later on becomes the Chief Justice, is one of those against. He's very conservative, but the other 7 justices. And it goes on to a bunch of stuff about trimesters and so on. But it passes. The problem with the Supreme Court decision is that it's brittle. If it's political, where we vote on it, you can keep arguing about it. You can keep throwing in the opposite objection. You can try to elect people that are going to do this or that. But for a court decision, all you can do is appeal it. And for the Supreme Court, there's no appeal. That's it. So that's kind of the problem that we have today. People are dissatisfied. In fact, the NORAL group, they make money on it. They're opposed to anything that would limit abortion. They get a lot of contributions. Maybe get some letters in the mail. If you want to get a letter in the mail, just write off the arm. For us, we probably should think about it a little bit as to what to do. And the first part was just to show that it kind of got a little bit, that some of the things as to how that decision was made, and I'll try at another time to give a little bit more on it. Madam Toastmaster.